for today's very, very special event. Something on Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri is something extraordinary. We are all thrilled to present this program. Thottam was a great soul, and there are many, many stories people say about his Abhinaya. He was one of the greatest star of Kathakali and Abhinaya, the world of Abhinaya in Kerala. So it is great pleasure that Vinod Gopalakrishnan has studied deeply into the subject on this. He did very hard work. I welcome and also welcome Professor Georges Paul, who is our chief guest today. And welcome Gopalakrishnan for today's everything. And we also have a special guest. Thottam's great grandson is sitting here. Irinjalakuda Namboothiri. So that is really wonderful to have witness from the family itself.
ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് വല്ലതും പറഞ്ഞാൽ പോലെ. Kurichi, Mr. Vinod, dear friends, Vinodji told me over phone that I am what is that? Chief guest, no, guest of honor. What is that? In Natanakairali, how can I be a guest? Because right from the time that every brick of that building was placed, I was here. Some people used to, I was working in this college, Christ College. Some neighbors used to ask, this man says that he is a teacher, he is a professor in the college, but he is seen always here. True. And that's why I got enough insight into especially Kudiyattam. Until I met Venu, I never knew anything about Kudiyattam. As far as today's this talk is concerned, Mr. Vinod, I think it is a hobby for him to keep talking on great personalities. Yashoda Duncan, you have, is it Yashoda Duncan? Then Anna Pavlova, such great dancers. Anna Pavlova, I remember, Rukmini Devi, you have given talk in Kalakshetra, isn't it? Yeah. Rukmini Devi actually went and met Anna Pavlova to learn ballet. Then it was it was Anna Pavlova who told her that in your country there is a wonderful dance form which is eons old. Why don't you learn it? Bharatanatyam. That's how she came back. And she was taught by Pandanallur Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai. And later she founded Kalakshetra. He has given talk in Kalakshetra as well. As you know, he is a MIT alumnus, and maybe because of his management degree, he is an expert in arts management, a topic which we are yet to introduce in the so-called Kalamandalam University or other institutions of the government. Arts management is a must. How to manage an institution is difficult. You know, even this college, while coming down, we were talking about there are 5,200 students, very difficult to enter. how to manage it. Management you should learn. So he gives talks about arts management. He brings back to our memory great people like Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri. I don't know. Even though he was a Kathakali artist, I don't think there is anybody in the Kathakali field now in Kerala who has heard about him. In Irinjalakuda, please understand the Navarasa students. Irinjalakuda, it has been recorded as known as the land of Kathakali Brahmins, people who are mad of Kathakali. True. But not, I don't see even a single person except one or two who have come here to understand something about this great, I don't say celebrity, a legend like Guru Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri. How many of us know that he was the guru of Uday Shankar? We have already forgotten. When he told me about him, I was thinking about a book in which I had read that in Tagore's place, Uday Shankar was the, what shall I say, he was the most outstanding, internationally known dancer in India. Nobody to beyond him. So, when Indira Gandhi was young, she was with Tagore. And when our Kalamandalam Madhavan once performed there at Tagore's place, she wrote to her father, Prime Minister Nehru, that yesterday I saw a dancer here, male dancer, who is so, he was outstanding, not only outstanding, but greater than this man, Uday Shankar. How many of us know about Madhavan? Madhavan was from Erikara, isn't it? Erikara, yes. I actually had an opportunity to talk to him and invited him for an inauguration of a dance festival of the Kerala Sangeet Nada Academy in Alve. That was in 1999, I think, for selecting dancers for the workshop. So all these people have gone, they have faded into oblivion, and nobody is worried. Nobody is worried. So that's that is the relevance of the talk by Mr. Vinod Gopalakrishnan. Actually, Vinod, before we came to know each other, I came to know about his mother, Guru Kusumam Gopalakrishnan, and father, Guru Gopalakrishnan, two giants. Actually, it was when I was in the Kerala Sangeet Nada Academy Executive Committee that these two people's name came for award in the committee. In the award committee, we are only 4 or 5. One of us suggested that we will give to Guru Gopalakrishnan first and then Kusuma Gopalakrishnan next year. I said no. According to Bible, it is wrong. Those who were joined in heaven, let no man separate. So they were awarded jointly by the Kerala Sangeet Nada Academy, and I think it was in 2000. The next day, I traveled to their place in Kodungalur with the help of one of my colleagues, Mr. Natanakairali, who happens to be your classmate, isn't it? Yeah. And I interviewed them, It was a very interesting experience. And no doubt that Vinod, even though he is a reputed banker and business is different, he has been giving talks on mainly art and art-related subjects because of his parents and because of the genes, I must say. And it's a great service. And I am sure that, and as far as Guru Gopalakrishnan is concerned, a great choreographer, great dancer, and whatnot. I think there are no great film dancers who have not danced with Guru Gopalakrishnan in all languages, right from Malayalam to Hindi. He has choreographed and danced. He was an outstanding performer. And we didn't know about them because for a long time they were in Panjagani, isn't it? Panjagani, near Bombay, a New Era International School where only foreign students are admitted. So they were working there. When they came back, we didn't know actually. Otherwise, the award should have been earlier. So I'm very happy that you have come and very happy that you are going to talk about this celebrity, I must say. I must not talk more about him because he is going to talk. Such people were there in this country. Unfortunately, he died in Almora, where that is in the Uday Shankar's place, and his body was buried there, cremated there. So the Kathakali field has totally forgotten such a Kathakali artist who was a guru of Uday Shankar. That is very important. So I told him when he said it's a really an honor to be here to listen to him and watch the slides. I thank Mr. Venu for inviting me. Though it's a very difficult journey, we managed to come because of Narayan's company. When we talk, we won't know the difficulties on the road. And thank you once more. I assure you, especially the Namadasa Sadhana group, you are going to benefit much from the talk. Things that have been buried in the past, you should know. And that will give you more idea about the cultural tradition of Kerala. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can you hear me? Yes? Yes, clear? That's great. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Paul, sir, for this wonderful information and your introduction on such a great personality. It's just tremendous honor to be able to speak about him, someone who passed away quite a while ago in terms of the number of years, but ought to be remembered mostly by the art world. It's very, very important that we celebrate the memories of people like him who were extraordinary in their talent. They were superlative human beings who had a very deep sense of the art, deep understanding of the craft of the art and how they approached it with tremendous sincerity. And that you can see how it evolved in this, I would say, almost a superhuman human being when he was on stage. So my little journey today is through the life of this great dancer, this great Kathakali artist, one who transcended the stage into something much more than that over his lifetime. So I will start first by saying thank you to Venu Ashan, my teacher, in all that I do, in terms of all the talks that I do at Natanakairali. He's been my instigation and inspiration, and he's always directed me in terms of topics as well as how to approach them. And then I set out to do my own research and acquire that information, put it into a succinct format that one can then travel through the story and experience some of what had transpired in the person's life. I'm very glad, as Paul sir said, that my mother is here. My father I miss. But most importantly, again, I salute the presence of Thottam Namboothiri, the great-grandson of Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri, who's here. And it's a big honor for me, sir. I'm thankful. He made the journey. We were talking about it and my questions, and he gave me so much of information. And then I had to then look through the stories and connect the dots as we put this whole talk together. And he made his journey all the way from Thagari, southern Kerala, just to listen to this talk. Thank you so much, sir. With that, I'll begin. This has not been an easy subject to put together because it's from a time that's a little while ago, and there are lots of people to talk and bodies that have, their publications they themselves have helped me. First of all is Ishwan Namboothiri sir I spoke about. Uday Shankar, the great grand master of modern dance in India, and his beautiful work at the Almora Center. I'm thankful to him, his contribution and his memory. Alice Boner Archives and the Reitberg Museum for their photographs. I've talked about them before in my earlier talks as well, but they're a beautiful repository of past art documentation, wonderful repository that one can benefit from. Shri Narendra Sharma Archives and Bharat Sharma. Narendra Sharma ji was a wonderful dancer, and he was also educated at Almora in the beginning, and then he went on his own and then wrote his own history. He's a wonderful artist. If you look at the pantheon of ones who started to involve into the public stage after independence, after 47 and onwards, and his work that he's done in Delhi, North India, and most importantly across, great work. And his son Bharat Sharma, whom we were in the foyer of the conference on international conference on dance last October in Delhi, and the two of us met in the foyer. We didn't know who each other. We just started a conversation and then discovered that he was Narendra Sharma's son, sir's son, and he discovered that I was Guru Gopalakrishnan son, and we had a similar kind of track, and we became good friends. And Bharat's work and writing, he's a theatre dance personality himself, and his writings have helped immensely in my research for this presentation. So I thank Bharat. Bharat's watching this talk, and I'm a big thanks to Bharat as well. Venuji, of course, with him I would be nobody, so I must ascertain Venuji's family, himself, Nimla Chechi, Kapila, all very close to us. We are like family, so I extend my thanks to all of you. Shri Appakuttan Nair, Ayyappa Panikar sir, and Mark Publications. They had a beautiful book on Kathakali which has helped me a lot with the images of the artists of yesteryear. You will see all that as I go through the story. Kerala Kalamandalam and my mother's alma mater, of course, and Professor Philip Zarili's book on demons, when demons come to play. Beautiful book with the referencing that offers us an insight into the progression of the art of Kathakali on a historical spectrum. Very, very useful. And then, of course, my father and my mother. Mother happens to be here. My father was the first person who told me about, who put the name Thottam Poti, as they are called in Kerala, in my head. I need to talk about that. KG Suresh, I've not met him, but his article in Culture Plus gave me some additional information, so I need to acknowledge that. Athena Madhu is my sister-in-law and my standard translator of Malayalam. I can speak Malayalam, but I cannot read or write Malayalam. I'm a little ashamed being a Keralite. But she is there at home, so she does all the reading of the translation, and then I internalize that into words when I get to writing. Rafael Pineda is an old friend of mine, and we used to work together as well. And he's Filipino and he's based in Manila. He helps me for the last 20 years with all the creative work that I've been talking about. Paul sir said I'm a banker. I was a banker. I just decided to quit to do just this. So I was a banker for 30 plus years, and that doesn't interest me anymore. So right now, in my own personal interest, I have. I'm a director, board member of the Dakshina Chitra Museum in Madras, Chennai, which is very important from the point of conservation and preservation of living structures. That's a different story. Today, we talk about a great personality in Kalamandalam, in Kathakali, sorry. In my title, I've used the word alchemist. In simple definition, the meaning of the word alchemist means someone who transforms things for the better. It's a simple definition and simple explanation. This word, you will understand why I placed this word in front of Thottam's name or title of the talk as we progress through the story. All stories need a context. You need to understand the story in the context of when it happens. Then you understand the importance of the change that it makes, the importance of the personalities and the deeds that they do, given the environment around them. In this case, we are talking about Kathakali and the world of Kathakali. So, at beginning of 1900, when was Thottam born? He was born in the year 1881. So, if you look at around that time, the late 1800s, Kathakali was around for another 150 or 200 years. It's been around. But around this time, royal patronage had, declined a little bit. So, the proximity of shows being available for people to see and who could see what, where, was always a little bit of a difficult proposition those days. It wasn't like what it is now. Societal changes were happening, and Kathakali was being supported then also by community groups called Kaliyogams across Kerala. There were groups who were very passionate about the art, and then they formed groups and promoted the programs as they went as far as they could. most of the modern Kathakali that you see were already established. Performances were predominantly in temple prosceniums or royal courtyards, or somewhere within the palace surroundings. But those were for very limited and elite audiences. So that is the context of where the story starts. The Namboothiri homes, this photograph is a very old photograph of the house that I mentioned here. Olappa Mana. Mana in Malayalam means a large home that belonged to, historically if I am right, a wealthy Namboothiri families. They were called Manas. And this is a photograph, maybe 100 years old or so, in the village of Vellineri in Cherpulassery, Panikar district. And here, this particular house and the family there, they promoted Kathakali a lot, significantly. And there are many stories connected with many artists in this town as well as with this particular family. So this is another example. Similar houses, you had grand houses like these, similar across Kerala, and all of them helped to push the art of Kathakali, keep it going. And there is a very important role that they play when it comes to the history of the progression of Kathakali. We come to the life of Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri himself. He was born on the 8th of June 1881 at Tagari, near Alapura. You might have heard of Alapura. Beautiful place. Pretty close to that. And he hailed from a very, very established, erudite, and of course wealthy Namboothiri family. So that was a positive that Thottam Ashan was, I'll refer to him as Ashan, it's easier for me, and it's also right to call him Ashan. That was soon to be seen as a big positive for him. As we go along, you will understand why it kind of worked in his favor. His father was a Pandit. He was a scholar, and he was a respected individual, his father, and so was the rest of his family. Mother was very much, housewife or whatever you want to say. They were all, you can see the word, for those of you who don't know Malayalam, I will translate as we go along. Antarjanam is a word that is used for Namboothiri women who are, inside the house, I guess outside as well. Antarjanam means a lady who is Namboothiri. That is an identifying factor of a name. Father Thottam Narayanan Namboothiri, and you have a great-grandson sitting here, so I've got to get these names right as well. So, and his Thottam Ashan's mother's name was Devaki Antarjanam. I wouldn't have known anything unless he told me. This is where I got the information from. His wife's name was Malini Mirangat Subhadra Devi. This is Thottam's life. And he had two sons, Thottam Parameshwaran Namboothiri, who was also his interpreter, because he had already finished his BA then. We are talking about a long while ago. And brother Thottam, professor, who was the other brother, the other son, who was Thottam Gopalakrishnan Namboothiri. And two daughters, Draupadi and Devaki. So this is Thottam's his personal family. And that's the introduction that you know of the person himself. Now, if you look at the context again, at that time, between around 1850 to 1950 and beyond, there were a lot of Kathakali Vidwans. All these names that you see here were immaculate professionals who were already on the scene. They were well known, they were respected, they were extraordinary artists in their own right. None of them was inferior to the other or not at all. They were all erudite performing artists at that time. And many of these names, for any Kathakali artist, all these names will be very familiar, even today. And spoken with great reverence, all these names. I'm not going to read all the names, you can see them yourself. But in this firmament of looking at Thottam's life, I have put together a set of all those great individuals who were actually performing and in and around or teaching in and around the time when Thottam was coming onto the arena, the performance arena. And here's where we go, the very important slide. When you go from the top left, these are all wonderfully respected, renowned performers and teachers. Patikanduri Ravani Menon on the top left is the person that Mahakavi Vallatol took in as the director of Kathakali studies when Kalamandalam was formed. So if you look at Kalamandalam Krishna Nairashan and Ramurti Nairashan and so many others, he was their teacher. And there was a second teacher who is Guru Kunjukurup. Equally, both the two of them were there in Kalamandalam at the time of its beginning. And of course, needless to say, Thottam knew all of them. The third one is Kavalapara Narayana Nair also was there. Mathur Kunjipulla Panikar, I'll talk to you about him, about this wonderful artist a little more. Kurichi Kunjan Panikar was also there. The last photograph is of Kirikadu Kochuvelupilla. This is the only photograph that has eluded me. I have searched far and wide, all over the place, contacted so many bodies and so many people. I have not been able to get a fix on his photograph. One reason may be that he passed away in 1924. So it might be one of the reasons why I can't. But I'll still keep looking. Ittirarcha Menon on the bottom left. And then you have Ichara Pillai Vijari Pukar. So this is a person with his attire also. He's not government, but he's with the royal family. He's employed by the royal family in the court. Hence his attire. But records show that he was also a Kathakali artist and a very good one at that. At the same time, Kochu Neelaganda Pillai, also a great artist at that time. Ichara Kurupu was there. Chenganu Ramabilla sir was there. He was also a great artist in his own time. And the last photograph at the bottom is Vazhengada Kunju Nair, who was my father's Kathakali guru when he went to Kottikal PSCV Natya Sangam in the 40s. That was my father's Kathakali guru. Of these, there are two that Thottam Ashan really adored and admired, and for reasons that I will tell you about. So when you look up at the first row, Mathur Kunju Panikar, right above, you can see his name there, right? Who was he? Why was he important to Thottam? This is why. So Mathur Kunju Panikar, he started early. He started his abhyasam early. I just need to see the reminders of the slides here. He was soon, very, very soon, he became an artist at the Topil group and would play all the main Veshams. So by that time he had already become an established performer. He established the Mathur Kathakali group with Kavungal Shankara Panikar, also another renowned name on the firmament of Kathakali. And the Mathur group became a highly prestigious group that helped grow the popularity of Kathakali because of the quality of their performance and at that time. In 1922, this is very important, 1922, Mathur wrote and published the first Malayalam text based on the Natya Shastra named Kathakali Prakashika. So, this book, Venvashan has a book with him, has a copy with him. What it is it's a small book and it's written in Q&A form, as I say here. What is this Q&A? The Q&A is he's presented in a way where it is a Brahmin man and his wife or consort or partner, whoever it is. They have gone to a Kathakali program and they come back and then she wants to know. So she keeps asking him questions one by one. She asks and the husband or the partner, the man answers. The Brahmin answers and explains what it is. So it was a very, very interesting way to educate the common gentry in terms of, what the art was all about. This is not, it hadn't been done before. Mahakavi Vallathol Narayana Menon, who was one of the visionary behind what you today know as Kalamandalam, he was very impressed. He was very, very impressed with Mathur's art and his person. And about the book, once he read, he held Mathur in very great esteem, and had not fate intervened, it looks very clear that he would have brought Mathur in to at the beginning of Kathakali, along with Patikandudi Ashan as well. Maybe, I don't know. It's speculate, but it's actually very, very possible in my own head. So what did he say? The pathway to the land of happiness, which is Kathakali, lies in the small book lighting up the way. Obliterating the darkness is none other than Mathur Kunjapalla Panikar, who is the authority among Kathakali artists, capable of guiding even masters of this art. That coming from somebody like Vallathol is a great acclaim for any artist. And Thottam Ashan also had great disciples who were his students and then went on to write their own histories. Chenganur Ramapillai Ashan, you will see a little more about him later, was his student. Guru Gopinath, my father's guru, and Venu Ashan's guru also, was also his Mathur students. His brother Chambakulam Pachubilla was also Mathur students, and many, many more. So this is the importance of Mathur Kunjapalla Panikar. Thottam was in awe of this man. He respected him immensely and always kept him on a high pedestal. The other person that Thottam respected was Kurichi Kunjan Panikar. This was a very simple man with a great talent. And he studied Kathakali in near where Kalamandalam is. It's a place called Lakkidi under Appunni Poduval. And then he went to the north of Kerala. We're talking about like 1910 or 1915, around that age, that era. And he went to a place called Angadipuram and he studied under Kootil Kunjan Menon, which is in Malappuram, which is towards the northern part. And Kunjan Panikar's knowledge of the north and south styles developed a distinct and individual ability within him as a performer. So they are not greatly different, but they are different in terms of combined styles. Maybe not today, but then yes. And in 1909, the Travancore royal family invites Kurichi Kunjan Panikar as a senior artist, and he settles in Thiruvananthapuram. Thottam admired this man as well. As I looked through the research, I realized that what he liked about him was he had gone and studied both styles and amalgamated it in his head. And that meant a lot to Thottam as to what he was going to do. So here we come to the actual strength of Thottam. So we are looking at the unique position. So why is he mercurial? What makes this great Ashan even greater than what we think he is? The unique position that Guru Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri holds in the firmament of Kathakali universe is one of distinction, respect and honor. History proclaims his singular art as rooted with absolute mastery in Vesha Saundaryam. What is Vesha Saundaryam? Is the beauty of your character in terms of appearance. You see, Kathakali is all about your presence on stage and what you do. So, Vesha Saundaryam, Auchitya Bhasuram. What is Auchitya? Auchitya is precise as it should be, as prescribed. Many of these, all these fit in as explanations to that word. Precise as it should be, or as stipulated or prescribed. So, Bhasuram is luminosity, brightness. Yeah? So, each character should have that. That's what the rules of the art say. Involved Patra Bhodam. So what is Patram? Patram is the character that you play and the total involvement into that person that you are representing on stage. Infinite capacity for manodharma, imagination. And that will come only with in-depth knowledge of where you go. And that knowledge he had because of his deep knowledge of Natya Shastra, Sanskrit and Puranic texts. Why? Because he started, and his father also was a Pandit and very erudite family, very well read, and his capacity for application was infinite. So he was always learning. And that's what I clearly gather from his life and his progression. He was always a learner, trying to better himself each minute at a time. Thottam's gurus, Thottam, was indeed a wondrous genius of a distilled and refined Rasa Abhinaya and Netra Abhinaya presentation. So it was a combined mastery that he had. Thottam's gurus, his training, his dedication, along with an incredible, innovative, imaginative capacity. His positive social situation also helped his growth and superior talent. I must say that basically because if you are, very comfortable, wealthy family, you don't have to worry about going to work and earning money and all that. So you can concentrate, exactly what you want to do, and you're free to do what you want. So that certainly helped him. But he knew how to make use of that time, and great. So how did he begin? Such a great artist, how did he begin? In 1896, he was about 15 years old, he decides to learn Kathakali. What happens? His father, no. Her father is very, very disapproving of the idea. But at the age of 15, Thottam is very clear in terms of where he wants to go. He goes and joins Kathakali anyway. Doesn't matter. Father is angry, it's okay, fine, that's father's problem, I'll go and do what I want to do. That's exactly what he did. And he went to Kollamdara Keshava Panikar Ashan, and he studied with him for 2 years. And then he had his Arangetram in 1898. And what did he do? He went and invited his father for his Arangetram. Father came for the Arangetram, and father was very surprised. He's extraordinarily good dancer. So he said, yes, you can continue. But at that time, as I write here, Kochigunju Bhagavatar, now one thing I forgot, in his Arangetram, he invites his father and watches it. He plays Rukmini in Rukmini Swayamvaram. What does it tell us? He started with female characters. He was not doing male characters. He started with female characters. And Kathakali is an art where you have to be pretty much aware and a master of any character that you might be given to you, and they are all trained for that in terms of sincerity and application. So Kochigunju Bhagavatar and Kollamdara Keshava Panikar Ashan, who were his teachers then, they advised him to go to Chambakulam Shankarapillai Ashan. So he tells his father, and what does the father do? Why should you go to the ashram? We can host them. So he invites his father, Thottam Ashan's father, arranges for Chambakulam Shankarapillai to come home and stay in Tagadi to teach Thottam. He does it for 5 years. So the family can easily, manage all this. And then he started getting his support from his dad. What does Thottam learn? He learns Rasa Abhinaya and Adyavasana Veshams, which are Veshams or characters, roles in Kathakali dramas, which are appearing from start to the end. So major roles in those dance dramas. Yes, he's learnt all this, but he still is bright enough and sensitive enough to know that he needs to learn more. This is not entirely enough for him. So what happens? This is where the transformation of this great artist starts to happen. He understood the connection between Kudiyattam, Kathakali and Chakyar Kuttu. He's very young, remember, but he's thinking. The mind is thinking, it's being, rolling around in his mind. He wants to go forward. At that point of time, Podiyil Narayana Chakyar was invited to his home and stayed to teach Thottam over 4 years. These are not brief, interludes of people coming in to teach. Long periods. He's kind of immersing himself in these learnings. So what did he do? Thottam learnt Sanskrit, the Chakyar craft, and the depth of Kudiyattam, along with a detailed study of Netra Abhinaya. So he at every level he's progressing into a different plane. He's kind of getting stronger and stronger. This holistic understanding laid the foundation of Thottam's extraordinary approach to the canvas of Kathakali. So this is now what is shaping this extraordinary individual. And we just spoke about Netra Abhinaya. What is the genesis? Where did it come from? The writer G. Shankarakurup, Panikar wrote, Thottam combined his accumulated knowledge. I thought this was very beautifully written. His accumulated knowledge of Kathakali mudras, Kudiyattam mudras, Veda and Tantric mudras. Everything he brought together because of his knowledge and awareness. He blended this knowledge into something extraordinary on stage. Thottam's Netra Abhinayam itself was enough to communicate. He held the practice of Kanna Sadhagam as one of extreme importance. This pops up again and again in the research. His Kudiyattam Guru Narayana Chakyar had also initiated him to the concepts of Nilav Sadhagam, which is Kanna Sadhagam, exercises of the eye during the moonlight, which means the whole night till the sun comes up. So that's the intense practice that they go through. And Spadiga Bhitti Bhedanam. I'm not, I don't have the real translation of this except that I was asking my mother to translate one word at a time. So Spadigam is glass, Bhitti is wall, Bhedanam is break. So breaking the wall. It's something like that. It should, or looking through, I don't know. I'm still looking for the exact meaning of Spadiga Bhitti Bhedanam in terms of Netra Abhinaya practice. From his first initiation until his final day, this is something for all of you students of dance, drama, theatre, whoever you're here, to remember. From his first initiation until his final day, Thottam never compromised on his sadhagam for any reason or in any condition. So even if he was well, not well, sadhagam was never out of the window. Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri, the distinctive difference. His presence carried a mastery. Rasa Abhinaya, Mudra Abhinaya, Netra Abhinaya. So this kind of differentiated him from the canvas of what was there at that time, although they were very, very great dancers around. And in 1925, there was this little meeting, which was a gentle debate, as they say, in terms of the writing that I found. A gentle debate between the Tekkan and the Vadakkan. Tekkan is the south and Vadakkan is the north. Or whether this style is better or that style is better. Very, very small discussion wherein Thottam Sankaran was there and he performed. And great artist Chandu Panikar and Ambu Panikar was also present at this meeting. Chandu Panikar and Ambu Panikar are familiar names to me because they later on came to Kalakshetra and taught the students of Kalakshetra in the 1950s and 60s. Kodungalur Bhagavatar Kunjunni Tambaran, who is a very, very erudite scholar and art personality from Kodungalur, who was the younger brother of Kodungalur Tambaran, the great writer, Kunjuguttan Tambaran. So he was also present at this little performance that Thottam had put forward, and he had this to say. These were, Kodungalur Bhagavatam Kunjunni Tambaran's actual words. Thottam has moved his eyes into his hands because of Netra Abhinaya. Yeah. He's moved his eyes into his hands, and in his Tera Varnana is describing the waves of an ocean. In his Tera Varnana, I could literally see the waves. So this is an erudite scholar writing and recording the brilliance of this performing artist. Around the same time, the Taliparamba temple and the Chirakkal Kovilagam conferred Thottam with the Veera Shrinkhala. Veera Shrinkhala is actually a bracelet of honor. It's like a big award, huge award those times, and a recognition of a performer's art, whoever they may be. From 1905 to 1930, we're just kind of building up his life and going through a progression of the most important aspects of what he covers. Kilimanur Kovilagam Tambaran, who better known, this is an honorific royal title, but in reality, what the person it refers to is Raja Ravi Varma, the great painter. That you may have heard of. So when I say Raja Ravi Varma, people have heard of it. But Kilimanur Kovilagam Tambaran, people struggle a bit. But that was his title. He was a very big supporter of Kathakali, and he was very informed as well. He gave Thottam Ashan this little advice, which I pass on to you all as well. As students, it will benefit any of you. Once you enter the Aniyara is the green room or the makeup room. Once you enter the Aniyara, light the lamp and recite the shlokam, you have to enter the character and stay within it until the last moment of the last scene. So basically internalize what you're going to do and perform, enter that character, stay in there till you're done. There's no coming out or, grab a copy, nothing. Thottam never spoke in the green room to anyone at any time for any reason. This is something that he followed. From what I see, these are all non-negotiable with him. So there's no compromise on all this. He was completely committed to his audience. Thottam had many rasikas and enthusiasts and scholars and artists who would flock to the stages where he performed. At this stage, I want to invoke the name of my grand uncle, my father's uncle, Natanakairali Presents. My older cousins, Kaladaran and Lalita Chechi are also here. They are from the same family and they also know of him. Natanakairali Presents, my father's uncle, was a great scholar of Kathakali. He was very respected within the circles by all the artists. And when my father wanted to learn Kathakali, it was he who took him to PSV Natya Sangam and as a boy, and then went to learn that. But Nandiyal to Nadam Menon, also when I was 10 or 11, I think, my grandmother had passed away, and before the ceremony, people had gathered out, and he was there, and to keep the audience enthralled and not, disperse out, he told them the story of Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri's Kamala Dalam. And that's the first time I heard of his name when I was 11 years old. So, thank you to my grand uncle. Kudamalur Karunakaran Nair performed with Thottam, and we'll see a little bit of him later. He mentions his Kamala Dalam as a piece of unparalleled brilliance. It would just completely transport you. Now we are talking about Kathakali performances and Thottam and his gradual transformation into something extraordinary. So Kathakali programs are all happening at this time. But in the middle of this happening, there comes a personality whom honestly I had never even heard of until Venuji put this name in my head, and I set off to go do the research. And then the name in my head that came from Venuji was this V. Krishnan Thambi, on the man on the left with the white turban. The other one was the ruler of the Travancore Palace at that time, Sri Moolam Tirunal Maharaja. Now, who is this man? I looked him up and I was quite startled about his history and his contribution. I hadn't even heard of him, to be very honest. And that's why I call it the king and the visionary. You normally expect the visionary to be the king. So the king and the visionary, and this is the element where the stage of Kathakali gets opened out to the normal viewers, and that is this man's contribution. Just take a look at his life. He was born, his father, incidentally, Paul sir in his introduction talked about Irinjalakuda and the cradle. This man's father, Krishnan Nair, was also born in Irinjalakuda. But he married a lady from Nagarkoil, and those days, in these societies, we would move into the wives' side of things. So they went and stayed in Nagarkoil, and that's where Krishnan Thambi was born. And quite some time, a little time after that, his sister married the king. And once that happened those days, the family that the girl comes from is also attached to the royal family. And then they get a name change, and that's when he goes from Krishnan Nair to Krishnan Thambi. The man was brilliant. If you look at his bio or in terms of what he did, he was a brilliant scholar in Sanskrit, Malayalam and English. He travels to England and joins Oxford University and studies Latin, German and French. He's also a Sanskrit scholar, so he shares his Sanskrit knowledge with the professors at Oxford University, becomes very popular there. But he's also, like I said, maverick. So he's inspired suddenly by the Irish freedom movement. And what does he decide to do? He just leaves Oxford and goes to Ireland to fight for the Irish freedom movement. He does that for a year and then decides that, this is enough, I will come back to India. So he comes back to India in 1917 and he resumes his Sanskrit studies under Sambashiva Shastri. And then from 1917 to 1934, he is the principal of the Sanskrit College, founded by the royal family. That was in the late part of 1888. Through his own compositions and plays, Thambi claims a respectable position amongst Sanskrit scholars from across the world, and his famous play is Lalita. And he did padams as well. But all this is not his greatest achievement. He is the individual in 1924 who establishes the first Kathakali Club in India and possibly the world as well. There was no Kathakali Club before that. I talked to you about Kaliyogams. Kaliyogams were there, are groups, community groups who used to conduct Kathakali programs, but not a club. There was never a ticketed program for Kathakali before this. Never. At all. He started a Kathakali Club, and if you look at the top left, you will see a building in the corner there, top left corner of your screen. That is the building where he actually started the club. The roof has been replaced, but the structure is the same. The roof is a tin roof that didn't exist in those days. But so it's a new roof. That would have been tiles, I would expect. But that's where he started this. It must have been very, very small amount of fees to come and see the performance. And more important thing is that he first introduced a 3-hour Kathakali performance, so that audiences could come, see it and go, pay a little fee. That started the remuneration, angle for some kind of income to be awarded to performing artists as well. Otherwise, it was just handed out from the so-called sponsor who was, presenting the. And Kathakali was not a field where people were earning a very good income. So that was maybe a few people did, but most of the artists were not paid enough as they should have been, perhaps. So this was the time when this happened, and the Kathakali Club idea has now grown and grown and grown. It's in fact Kottikal Madhu, whom I know pretty well, had just messaged me from the US, and they are traveling across the US with a large troupe for a number of performances. And I kind of connected that with this, and it took 1924 to almost 100 years later, it's all over the world, but it began here. So that's a great story. So, Mathur Kunjuppilla Panikar I spoke about a little bit later, Kathakali Prakashika. His student his disciple is Guru Chenganur. We are looking at a few teachers and performers today who gave their own understanding and admiration of Guru Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri's art. We are coming back to that story. So what did Chenganur Ramappillai Ashan say? His art had no compromise. I feel there are hardly any parallels to his mastery. Vesha Bhangi, Mukha Bhangi. Vesha is attire and Mukha is face, of course. Stage presence, clear face and bright, expressive eyes. I've translated this from Malayalam to make it easier. Thottam Namboothiri was an extraordinary, rare gem on the firmament of Kathakali. He was very particular about every Vesham, and his process was to transform into the characters. Outstanding stage delineation. His Ekalochanam, Karavimshati, Saundarya Varnana Slokams, Kailasaudharanam, Parvati Viraham, Narada Gamanam, many, many, many more are kind of written in appreciative columns after columns and columns. I feel Thottam was a complete artist with almost no identified flaws in art. He was a learned man and understood the arts of Kathakali, Kudiyatam, and also the Chakya tradition. So this is the appreciation that Guru Chenganur himself was a very established and revered guru. That's him speaking about Thottam. Now there are two stalwarts. Both names, if you are in the Kerala firmament, they'll be very, very familiar with. Kalamandalam Krishna Nair Ashan wrote his own history in terms of being probably the most celebrated Kathakali artist after Thottam's time. He was also a miraculous artist. And Kudagumalur Karunagaran Nair Ashan, who was specialized in female roles. And he was also a very distinct performer. They speak in their own words about Thottam Ashan's performance. Krishna Nair Ashan says he was very lucky because these two artists have actually performed with him on stage. So this is what they are saying. They are through their own experience. They have performed with him. So I was very young, but was fortunate. This is the great Guru Kalamandalam Krishna Nair Ashan saying. I was very young, but was fortunate to watch and perform with Ashan on many stages, and each one was an experience. The magnificent Guru offered us a lesson every time he performed. On stage with him, it was always a discovery to learn and understand the situational connections he imagined and how he strung story situations together almost as if he had rehearsed it 1,000 times, Thottam was a Purna Vidwan. His Ekalochanam was so transported that it would startle the Rasikas. Thottam Ashan was indeed an Apara Shakti, and my Shashtanga Pranam. And on the left you'll see an old photograph which I deliberately didn't retouch because I didn't think I had the authority to retouch. And that is how young Krishna Nair Ashan was. The person you see in the middle is Krishna Nair Ashan, who was later on in age. But he was that young when he was performing with Thottam. So it's this great revelation and understanding of how this mercurial artist himself, Krishna Nair Ashan, is talking about Thottam Ashan. Just remarkable. The other Stri Vesham artist that I talked about, Kudamalur Karunagaran Nair Ashan, said Thottam was the emperor of Kathakali. It is a blessing to have been on the same stage with this miraculous master. One had to be very focused and pay acute attention to how the Manodharma progressed and be able to respond to the mastery of whom he called Brahmashri Thottam. No parallels in my life to relive what I have experienced, and I will cherish those moments all through my life. Kathakali has certainly been strengthened by Thottam Ashan's life and work. That is Kudamalur Ashan talking about this great, phenomenon that is Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri. Now we move into the second chapter of Thottam's story. So when you say Uday Shankar and the beginnings, you cannot say it without the presence of Alice Bonar. She was an anchor on which Uday Shankar ji actually built his start of his career, both in terms of intellectual support, garnishing money and funds to initiate programs and put things in place. She played a huge role. But that was only one of the things that Alice Bonar played in that. She was a scholar herself. She was an artist. She was a sculptor, painter, huge mind. And there is a full museum about Alice Bonar in Benares. In what used to be a house. She lived in India for 40, 50 years. In Benares, and you can still see her house if you go to Benares. It is a museum today. And the rest of her great collection of art and paintings has all gone back to her home in Zurich. And Venuji was very, very lucky that he personally knew Alice Bonar's sister, Gertrude Bonar. And through her, he was fortunate enough to see some of those magnificent documents and artifacts and all that. So these are the two visionaries who identified the supreme qualities of Guru Sankaran Namboothiri. They identify him as the fire that would light up the dance world of Almora. You can read the rest, but it's very fascinating to know how all this happened, and that's what we are doing now. At this stage, Uday Shankar started with his troupe in 1931. So he's traveling a lot, and today in this talk we are talking at this stage about 1934. So he has started, this is from his posters of the tours in America. Solomon Hurok was in charge of the American tour. He was the impresario. And my friend Bharat also has told me that by this time they would have performed in Europe and America for about 800 or odd shows. So they've been extremely popular and extremely well known by this stage, Uday Shankar. And he's learnt a lot, matured a lot in terms of what he wants to do. Even his stage presentation, just look at one photograph from that time. There are musicians behind. They are also in costume. It's so, to somebody who has not seen something like that, it's a shock. It just totally transports you into another world, especially when you're witnessing a new art form that you've not seen if you're living in North America or in Europe. And he was just a phenomenon who went through the world. But he was also, like Thottam, he was also a visionary. That's the greatness of the man. Many are brilliant, many are capable, many are masters of their own craft. But few are those imaginative geniuses who, what's the word? Who they look a little further into history. It's not just about them. I think it is very important for artists also to think about tomorrow. You know, what is my contribution? In terms, I have a little back pain. In terms of contribution, how do I add, whatever I can? How do I bring ideas to this and strengthen the art that I have? Do I just perform and go away, or can I add to it? Not everybody does it, but this man really did. And this was his vision, and from there you learn that Shankar was an innovative visionary who wanted to strengthen his own art and to build an unmatched reputation for his center. This is something in his imagination. And he conceived this whole concept of Almora and a center for culture and its work. Now, he has to make it happen. He's got the land, he's got the ideas, and he has a small team of people behind him, but he has to find the right gurus. And that's just, that's the point, that without great teachers, you're not going to get a great institution. He has visions, but he knows he is not capable of doing it himself. He needs to get the right kind of gurus. On the left, you'll see Uday Shankar and Ravi Shankar, that is, a very young Ravi Shankar. And in the right, the two people you see, two dancers you see, one is Zora Sehgal in front, and behind is Ravi Shankar as a dancer. Ravi Shankar was actually a dancer before he became a musician. So, this was all happening. This image in the center is from 1937. So, after 2 years of successful tours, like I just told you, world tours, Uday Shankar at this stage is in India. So we are talking about 1934. They are looking for the gurus who can strengthen his repertoire with strong and imaginative choreography. Although Almora was much more than this. It was not just for choreography, but actually transformative, build a foundation of art. If you go through the whole principles of how it was set up imagined as an institution, it's a blueprint that it would benefit India even today, and I would recommend that somebody have a look at that at the government level or above. Magnificent outlook in terms of what an institution should be, how inclusive that should be, and how it can help art and culture move ahead in terms of the performing arts particularly. Anyway, so they travel far and wide in India, and the process takes about a year. Because they're going from the north down to the south. They're looking at art, they're staying with people whom they know, the kings, they're very well known and respected, and they're watching shows and performances right from the north to the south. And when they come down south, Uday Shankar and Alice Bono are invited by the Padmanabhapuram Palace in Trivandrum, Thiruvananthapuram then, and to attend a Kathakali performance. That's all they know. So they go and sit for the Kathakali performance. Uday is just startled by Thottam's artistic ability in Uttara Swayamvaram and his Ekalochanam. I am not a Kathakali performer. I have not learnt any art form. Although I am the son of two great artists, I have not learnt it. I understand. My sister has. I understand and appreciate the art. But I don't know enough to explain what Ekalochanam is, except the fact that every Kathakali artist I've talked about says, oh, that's something, extraordinary in terms of Abhinayam, especially from him. So he sees, Uday Shankar watches Thottam in Uttara Swayamvaram, and he sees his Ekalochanam presentation. And the next day he goes again and watches Thottam perform Cholliyatam. Cholliyatam is practice of Kathakali without the costume or just the drums. Uday is totally mesmerized and invites and requests Thottam to join him in creating magic at Almora. And this is where he asked for some time, and that I knew from Ishwaran sir also, that his son Parameshwaran, who is Ishwaran sir's grandfather, actually came up to Uday Shankar because he could speak English and translate, that they felt that Thottam Ashan's ability and reputation needed to go further. So he will come and help you at Almora, but on two conditions. One is that he will come back and perform in Kerala whenever he needs to, but for a fixed period of time he will teach at Almora. And second, that Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri sir demanded was that he was a very devout person. Obviously from a very orthodox family, devout person. He said, I need a temple there. And he had that arranged for him as well. So there's only one person that Uday Shankar has actually mentioned as his guru. And every time he says guru, he means Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri. And he repeats that. He was just besotted by the man. 1934, Thottam arrives in Calcutta. And he's met at the railway station. He arrives with Parameshwaran, his son, and his interpreter. Uday Shankar and Ravi Shankar, very young Ravi Shankar at that time, they meet him at Howrah railway station, take him home, and then he performs at the Bengal Music Conference at the Calcutta Senate Hall, 1934. And at the same time, the great doyen of Bharatanatyam, Bala Saraswati, also performed at the same on the same stage for the same conference at the same time. And you will see the Bala Saraswati connect a little more and a little further. Poet Rabindranath Tagore was also there. He was the guest of honor at that conference and the performance, and Tagore is also taken by storm when he sees Thottam's performance, and he invites him to Shantiniketan already that he had gone, he'd already established, that was very established by then. So Thottam is like a meteor that has come into, their worlds, creative worlds, and they're all kind of mesmerized. At the same time, the Pavlova Dance Company is also in Calcutta. As luck would have it. Madam Pavlova has passed on. She died January of 1930. Yeah. January 21st, 1930, if my memory serves right. That's when Pavlova Madam died. But her company did not. Company went on performing, and they were successful as much as she was for quite some time till it kind of started waving down. So they were in Calcutta. They also watched Thottam Ashan's performance, and they said, an artist of this caliber, why don't you join us and perform with us? Come to Russia, we'll go to the... Thottam said, I appreciate, but let me make things very clear to all of you, I will never leave the shores of India for any reason with anybody. So, in that one sentence, one sentence, all the foreign tours are all gone, finished. He will never leave in the shores of India. And there was another person who did that, Semmagudi Srinivasan Iyer, who was a Carnatic musician, great musician. He also, these are just orthodox practices that they have, and I respect them. These were the 4 gurus that Uday Shankar discovered and brought to Almora. And they were among the greatest of musicians and dancers in India at that time. Remember that this is still under British rule, so we have a sovereign power above us. From the left, Baba Alauddin Khan, the great guru, the great guru. His disciple list itself will be as long as, 2 volumes or something. Great, and all of them great names. Nikhil Banerjee. Everybody is his pretty much, yeah. Very humble man, desired nothing but the purity of music. He lived in Maihar, a small village in Madhya Pradesh. Didn't, want riches or fame, or never looked for anything. Great teacher. His daughter Annapurna Devi also later became the guru of Pandit Harit Prasad Chaurasia. There's a list. I cannot go through the list. It's just so many artists who've graced. Sharan Rani, the great sarod player, is also his student. Baba Alauddin Khan. Then, of course, is Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri, impeccable master of Kathakali. Guru Kandappa Pillai. I told you about Bala Saraswati, who was there in the Ming. He is Bala Saraswati's guru. So look at the amount, the caliber of Uday Shankar's choices as gurus at the Almora Center. Guru Kandappa was there. Unfortunately, he passed away before Thottam as well in 1941. All of a sudden, he was very young. He was it was a great loss for the world of Bharatanatyam. And then you have Guru Amobi Singh, again a legendary figure in Manipuri dance. So he was also there. And this quartet of the great art gurus strengthened the platform of art education at Almora. Baba Alauddin Khan was very lucky. He lived to the age of 110, which is a lot. I don't think I'll make it there. So, the next photograph here is of the center, of the Almora Center itself, the Cultural Institute, and it operated from around 1938 to 1943. And this is the brochure of a pamphlet I didn't have the rest of the pamphlet. I had only the cover of the brochure here. And another, this is a photograph of all the gurus sitting in a line. You can see Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri right in the front there. Right in the front. You can see him very regal with both his hands on his knees. And all the other gurus as well as the key dancers and instructors are also there in this photograph. These are absolutely wonderful historic photographs. And my friend Bharat also, we were talking yesterday in terms of, the importance of this structure and what was imagined. That there's a lot to learn from those places. The mutual love, respect and admiration of each other's art was indeed magical at Almora. That's Alauddin Khan hugging Thottam Achan. So that's the amount of affection or understanding that they had between themselves as artists, and the respect and adoration that they had between each other. This is Kandappa Pillai sir and Baba in the middle, Thottam sir on the left. And so in this whole scenario of having these great teachers, who were they teaching? Okay, fine, they were teaching some students. Who were the students? Let's have a look at the students. They wrote their own history after that. Many names from here became history. Zora Sehgal, Uzra Sehgal, Rajendra Shankar, these are the brothers. Narendra Sharma ji, my friend Bharat's father. How old was Pandit Narendra Sharma ji when he was there? 15 years old. He was only 15 years old. And later on, that 15-year-old boy grew up to such a big artist that he choreographed and ran the Sriram Kala Kendra Ramlila productions as well. But he was 15 years old as a young boy when he was at Almora. And Simki was Simone Barbier, who's French, and she danced with Uday Shankar for many, many years. She was basically a pianist, classical pianist, and Simki was also there as a student. Lakshmi Shankar later on became Hindustani music legend. Sukanya Shankar was there. Guru Dutt, those of you who know Bengali or film or film or Bengali context of Bengal plus Pyasa, Sai Bibi or Gulam, Bazi, Kagaz Ke Phool, beautiful filmmaker. He was a student at Almora, and Guru Dutt was not a director, he was a dancer at Almora. How many of you know this? He was a dancer. Guru Dutt was a dancer. And he also was a student. He was a student of dance and theatre. He would do both. And for music, who did we have? Shankar Ghosh, Timir Baran, the Dagar brothers, and Govind Vidyarthi. I can go through this list forever and ever. Shanti Bardhan, Sachin Shankar, Govardhan Panchal, great authority on Indian theatre. Kamleshwar Sehgal, of course. And then prominent art. Now these were the students. In my cover it said that the flame that lit 100 lamps. You see some of these are the lamps that they, all these people lit. And Thottam was a pivotal moment at Almora, and all this was happening. Look at who was visiting Almora. Not just the students there. Ali Akbar Khan, Ravi Shankar, of course, Vishnudas Shirali, great music director who went on to be the music director of Kalpana, which was the film that Uday Shankar made. Vishnudas Shirali was there. Then Ragini Devi, dancer, who took Guru Gopinath to the north and made Indian dance popular much earlier as well. Much earlier than Uday Shankar. Ram Gopal, dancer, he had also come. Sumitra Nandan Pant, poet, and for those of you who speak Hindi in the audience, Sumitra Nandan Pant, हिंदी में यही है पहली ज्ञानपीठ अवार्डी इज सुमित्रा नंदन पंत. हिंदी में पहली ज्ञानपीठ is his. But he was also a regular visitor to Almora. But the plus point was that he was born only about 20 kilometers away from, not that he lived there, but he was born in a small town called Kasoni, near Almora. Nikolai Roerich and Devika Rani Roerich, the great Russian painter, and of course his actress or actor, as they say today, wife, Devika Rani, they were also visiting in Almora. Cassius Panikar, the modern art, brilliant, thinking principal of the School of Arts College in Madras, and also a very close personal friend of my father, he also visited Almora. So people were very inquisitive as to what the Almora experiment was going to be. And I think it's about time that we as a nation looked again at what was happening, what was imagined at that time, and explore whether it is possible to revive those ideas and apply them in some way or the other. Some photographs from the times at Almora, students at Almora in 1940, Shanti Vardhan directs dancers. So you get a feel of, what the whole center was. The Simtola dance studio, outdoor fitness routines. It was a very, very strict regime. There were very clear directives as what you could do and what you could not do, and it was very, very regimented. And obviously very professional from exactly what it looks like. Production rehearsal at Almora. Look at how organized this is. Outdoor composition work. And see on the right, Narendra Sharma in a composition class. Technique and improvisation. So it's all broken down into components that can be taught, it can be learned, it can be imbibed, and it's a wonderful way of teaching actually. So now we come to Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri's last stage. This is the outdoor theatre of Almora. This is where they also put the Ramayana production up. And by the way, again, small detail, in the Ramayana production, Gurudutt played Rama. So there you see the I don't want to digress, but what he brought to film in terms of his imagination and application, you can connect the dots as to where it all emerged from. This is the outdoor terrace theatre, and this is where I will take you to the next one, which is not a very it's a challenging slide. So it's sunset in Almora, and it's the evening of August 7th, 1943. So Dushwasana Vadam, in the killing of Dushwasana, is the story that has happened, is being presented. It's actually in the Duryodhana Vadam story, but Dushwasana is the person whom Bhima deals with. And Thottam Achan was performing the Raudra Bhima, who is basically come to kill Dushwasana. And he performs it with such intensity. And at this time he is 63 years old. And for him there's no compromise. There's no compromise on stage whatsoever. So he comes in and completely gets into the character of Raudra Bhima. And it gets into him, and he becomes mesmerized by that. And in the Kathakali performance, you'll have Bhima putting Dushwasana down, and he pulls his entails out. on the floor and smears himself with the blood of Dushwasana. So he sits down, does the work of tearing Dushwasana into pieces, and he's got to get up. At that point, he just collapses down on the stage itself. And that's when it happens where Parameshwaran Namboothiri realizes, people don't realize, they think it's part of the performance. Parameshwaran Namboothiri, his son, realizes there's something wrong. He comes running and he waves to stop the performance. At which time, Uday Shankar realizes, he comes, he's dressed as, he's in the attire of Indra. Because he's supposed to dance next, he's in the costume of Indra. He comes running. He holds Thottam. Trying to read, Thottam is surrounded, he's surrounded by his pupils. He looks at Uday Shankar. He had told Uday Shankar that if he were to die, he wished it would rather be in the Himalayas, which would be closer to wherever he wanted to go. And he just dies. So, it's very few. There are very few artists who kind of leave a deep sense of learning, a deep sense of meaning in terms of what their own whole total involvement is, and the firmament that they leave behind them for the next generation. So, very few, very few. And he danced as he lived. He left this world dancing, every inch an artist, dignified, straight, active, even at 63, but it was not to be. He had to go at that time. But when that happened, it was seen as a passing of a comet, you see. Thottam's unexpected passing shattered the world, the art world at Almora. The loss of the maestro resounded across the grand universe of Indian dance and Kathakali. So what did they say? Uday Shankar had beautiful words. He has not only been a father to me, but much more. Fathers and gurus never die. They are immortal. I have not been able in this life to get even a fraction of his art. But I pray when I die, I might at least follow him and depart suddenly on stage and enjoying my art till the very last minute as he did. Beautiful lines. Baba Alauddin Khan, I am heartbroken. A great jewel of India is lost. We do not possess the power to understand how great a soul he was. He was not just a dancer, but a Mahapurush or a Rishi. It is beyond my capacity to describe his greatness. You see the humility in these people. Manakkunam Mugundaraja, who is also a co-founder with Ballatol Narayana Menon of Kalamandalam, he said his loss is a thunderbolt. Away with him has gone a great part of the glorious Kathakali tradition. I should say that India has lost a brilliant artist so well versed in the art of Abhinaya. So it's just this is the end of literally an era. I consider Thottam's era as an era on its own because of the tremendous contribution of the man in his application of the art, in his sincerity and his ability to look into the future and be open to ideas. There were a lot of people who were not open to ideas at that time. Whether you look at the Bharatanatyam world or music world, there were quite a few closed minds at that time. It was very difficult to penetrate those kind of barriers, which were not ill-intended or anything. It's just that people were. They were very traditional and they didn't want to go beyond a certain age, certain barriers that they placed themselves. But some people like this, like Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri, they look ahead. They can see some, I don't know if it's light, but they can see something into the future that we cannot. And they leave behind transformed institutions, transformed people, and I think also institutions, great institutions also have a kind of names from history when you look back from time to time who have made these things possible. So anywhere you go, you have this. It is very important to have an outlook into the future of what an art form should be. How can I bring some kind of contribution to it, however big or small, how sincere I can be to that. Not just as a performer, but something beyond that as well. As much as I can. If my position allows me and I have the time, I can certainly do that. I will try and do that. So this was the essence. I hope I've taken you through a little journey of the life of Thottam Sankaran Namboothiri. And it is a small contribution that I can make. I'm not an artist. I'm not an established historian. Somebody is very unhappy with me. So, I'm not an artist. I'm not a historian. I don't see myself as one. But I like to bring these stories to life. I like to share these memories. I take time in terms of doing this research and all that. But it's great to be here. My pronounced thank you, Paul sir, Menu Ashan. Ishwaran sir, thank you so much for coming. It's been a great honor for me and to have his own great son here. Thank you. It's a great thing. Where's Kapila? Wherever Kapila is. Thank you very much. Thank you. Kapila. As always, so many they can't hear you.
Thank you so very much. As always, so many interesting things. But actually I started my research on Spatika Bhitti Bhedanam. I asked 2-3 people. But about Netra Abhinaya, and I was also thinking it's probably had to do with really strengthening the focus of the eye that you can actually crack. Because in legends and in magic, this exists, that one increases the capacity of the eye, that with sharp focus one is able to do miracles or do feats with that intense focus. But I've asked around and I hope we will get more information. But thank you so much. It was so moving, and for me, this was only a name, and you knew a few things here and there, but to have so much material, and this is online if you want to go back and look it up. This is on YouTube whenever you need to go back and refer to some information. some names that you brought up, like the one the scholar who started the Kathakali Club. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting information. Thank you so very much for this kind of work that you do, not just the presentation, but just the work that you do in general with archiving and research and everything. As a dancer, as a performer myself, I'm very, very indebted. Thank you so much for your presence. We have a tea break now, following which we will screen a film after the break.